morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Since it's already 10, we're gonna go ahead and maybe give it a minute or so for everyone to settle in and join. Well, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is Tamara Neninger, and I'm the marketing specialist here at DSD. I have the pleasure of being your host today, and I will be managing the chat and webinar features throughout the session. If you have any questions or would like to interact with us during this webinar, please feel free to use the chat panel at any time. You can also reply to any of the emails that you received from me or the marketing team. Joining me today is Teresa, our Director of Consulting for the Sage Intacct practice. Additionally, we've made the Sage Intacct 2026 R3 release notes guide, which is available in the handout section of the webinar. If you're unable to access that guide, please feel free to reply to any of the emails again, and I'll be happy to send you a copy directly to you. I encourage you to engage with us throughout this session today. Our goal is to make this webinar as valuable and impactful as possible for you today. And before we get started, a super quick reminder that the session is being recorded. So if you need to step away or experience any connection issues, do not worry. We'll be sending out the recording after the webinar so you won't miss any of the content. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Teresa.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. Hopefully, we're going to show you some exciting things in here. We do have a few slides we're going to go through, and then we will get into our preview copy of the release and actually do a few little hands-on things. But as Tamara mentioned, please put in any questions you have in the chat, and don't hesitate to ask anything. We'll answer anything we can. So a few of the things, just real high level, that we're going to kind of walk through are some changes with that you're going to see in the release with Sage AI and automation. We're going to talk about a few things under some company administration setup in the system, a few things in accounts payable, fixed assets, general ledger, and then talk about some things in reporting. Not necessarily in that order, but those are kind of the high level modules and topics that we're going to cover. So a few of these things that we are going to show you are going to be what are called early adopter, which means that they're not going to be generally available to all users in the system with the release. As a reminder, the release is coming out this Friday night. They take the system down about 7:30 Pacific time. It's down for about 4 hours while they're applying the release. So this Friday night, they'll be rolling out the release. Saturday morning, hopefully you're not working Saturday, so Monday morning, but you'll come in, you'll see all of these new feature functions. But again, if we identify and mark anything as early adopter, you may not see that in there yet, but you can reach out to us through our support email or to your account manager here at DSD, and we can work with you to get you on those early adopter lists if anything interests you, to kind of be part of that early adopter group and testing with that. So AP automation, some of the things that they're going to be adding in here is really doing more anomaly detection. So right now, as you know, if you're using AP automation or if you looked at that, when it brings in those bills, it does notify you already if it's a duplicate bill. It lets you know if that it came in through email or through an upload. So it already gives you some of that, but it's taking it a step further, and it's going to start analyzing some of this for patterns and to catch unusual amounts, or if a vendor email address changes and it suddenly comes from a Gmail address when it was coming from a corporate email address. It's going to start notifying you of some of those things to really help with that fraud prevention and detection, to make sure that it's monitoring for things that are normally occurring in the system and alerts you so that you can look at those and make sure that they're okay. So you'll start seeing with that AP automation over here on the screenshot, that anomaly column where it's going to have things like, is it an unrecognized email? Do you have, an amount that is unusual on the transaction? Or you may see where it says multiple, where it identified several things on that transaction that are kind of out of the norm. So, okay. This next one with this AI and automation tool, again, this one is early adopter. So Finance Intelligence Agents is coming out. This is going to give you more power with the Copilot and the close automation that's out there to really help drive some financial information. So you can ask it questions like, who are my top 5 vendors, by bill amount? Who are my top 10 customers by, invoice amount, things like that. So you can use real language to ask it questions, and it's going to start analyzing your data and provide you with those reports and graphics to really kind of give you that intelligence, that data that you're looking for without having to go and create or run a bunch of different reports. A lot of these things are often on the dashboard, but maybe you want to, just on the fly, I want to ask it, who are my top 10 customers for last month or last quarter? So those real questions where I can use real language to ask it that and return that data, where I don't have something already built on a dashboard or a report, is what this is really going to be, powerful for, and give you kind of that information at your fingertips so you can ask it questions and get information back. In the company administration, some of the things that are coming out is just kind of a more streamlined look and feel for the header bar, the toolbar on the module as you're logged into Intacct. So you're going to see things like the help, your user preferences, your collaborate, the Copilot, all of those things kind of across that header bar at the top of your login. So all of that is going to pop up there and have that available for you. So it's there at your fingertips. So it just makes it a little bit more streamlined, where everything's right there. All your resources are right there kind of at the top of your page. So it's more consistent, where you see everything kind of together versus kind of opening different windows and things. And it does support both light and dark mode. So if you prefer to have your computer in dark mode, it does support that as well. In accounts payable, one of the things that is a fairly new process is the accounts payable processing of customer refunds. So being able to set your AR module up and your customers up where you can process a refund and have it be processed through accounts payable, or you print a check, create an ACH file, whatever the case is, to reimburse that customer and process that refund. So historically, before this module even was available, or this function in the module was available, oftentimes you were kind of doing some manual steps to go and, put a credit in on the AR, then go and set them up as a vendor and enter in a bill and then pay that bill. With that module, or this functionality that came out in that module previously, you can process that through accounts payable. And what they've done with this is they've taken that a step further and made this more streamlined, where when I'm going in and paying my bills, I can actually say I want to pay bills based on customer refunds, so those sources, so I can separate those out and filter those so that I can see those that are customer refunds versus just my normal AP bills that I'm paying. And then that gives me more visibility of that. And then I can also have that where it's not following your standard workflow and approvals for those bills. So those customer refunds, you can kind of have those where they're going to bypass any AP approval because they're really generated from a customer AR transaction that you're generating that refund versus a bill that you maybe have approvals on. So some different things that you can do with that refund process to kind of bypass those rules, and then also make paying those easier and more visible where they kind of don't get blended in with your other AP bills. Okay. Prepaid expense amortization. This is, if you've used the current module for prepaid expense amortization, you know that it has some quirks, I would say. And so they are releasing, this is early adopter, but we are seeing it in the demo, and I'll actually show you this, this in the product here. But it allows you some easier, more streamlined setup of the prepaid expense amortization schedules, and then apply those to bills as you're entering those bills or as you're entering in those vendor invoices on a purchasing transaction. And then it posts those transactions or posts those journal entries to amortize those out over that life. So honestly, this is probably the thing I am the most excited about in this release. And my team, we were actually just on a call prior to this discussing it, and they suggested that I just show you this on the webinar because everybody is so excited about this. But super exciting. I will get into the module and show you this, but just being able to streamline that prepaid expense amortization process and have that, you know, much easier for your AP team, and not having to go out and, you know, go into that module and turn things on and activate them and then go post things, and having it a lot more automated is just, you know, it's really a cool module. And I hope when we get in and show you, you'll be excited about it too. So, fixed assets, a couple of things in that, and there's a few more things other than what's on the slide that I'll show you as well. But one of the things that we are excited about with this is on the roll forward report, you can add additional dimensions to it. So previously it was a pretty static report. So you got the fixed assets, you could see that depreciation roll forward, but now we can actually add in all of those dimensions. So if you want to see that at a department level, you want to see it at an employee level, if you're tracking assets in an employee or project, whatever those dimensions are, you can add all of those things to that report now and see that. You can also add in additional fields. So if you want to see like the serial number or any of those fields on that asset and add those to the report, you have that flexibility to really customize that report and make it what you need out of it, versus, you know, kind of having that static report or having multiple reports that you are running. So that one's another one we're really excited about. Okay. General ledger, so they've kind of simplified a few things in the general ledger module with your approvals and setting up your GL outlier detection. So you'll see once that's set up and you have approvals, that it's going to actually become a menu item. So instead of having to go into the general ledger configuration for that module and kind of click on a couple buttons, you're going to see it actually on the menu where you can see those approvals to set those up. So just kind of pulling some of these things out, making them less clicks of buttons to get to them so that you can, you know, work more efficiently in the system. Also control who has access to those things, because oftentimes we didn't have access to configure the module, GL module. We, you know, limit down who has access to that, but maybe somebody needs to be able to set up, you know, something in GL outlier detection or set up in, you know, journal approval. So really giving you that flexibility to kind of have that more detailed permissions on that, as well as pulling that out of that configuration there. So it's, again, less clicks of buttons to get to that. Okay. Also, again, streamlining, making things available to us on the menu. You're going to see that you have journal entry templates now directly from the menu. So instead of having to go to the list of transactions for journal codes, and then click again on, those transactions to get to those templates. So kind of multiple clicks of buttons to get there. We're going to see on the menu directly under journal entry templates that we've got the ability to get to our memorized transaction templates, our recurring templates, or our transaction templates for both financial and statistical data. So all right there on the menu that we'll be able to see. Okay. On our reporting, one of the things that they have changed is if you're doing those performance cards, which are those quick little indicators on our dashboards that are typically comparative to, compared to budget or compared to a prior period, they've added more flexibility and more options in there on what we can compare to. So when we're looking at reporting periods, we can compare, current year through current month. We can compare fiscal years. So giving us more options that we can do comparisons on, so we can have those performance cards and those indicators letting us know how we're doing in comparison to prior periods, giving us more options so it's not always a current month compared to last month, or just giving us the options of comparing to budget. So giving that, opening that up so we have more options to see how we're doing over time, and how we're comparing to last year, and how we're comparing quarter over quarter. So all of those options that we can add into those performance cards that we can then add onto our dashboards and have, that much more data right there at our fingertips. Okay. This one we're excited about as well. It is still early adopter, but it's the Smart Excel reporting. So this is going to give us the ability to have reports and build reports directly in Excel using Intacct data. So this one, when this one is available general, we'll be screaming it from the rooftops because we're super excited about this one. It's still an early adopter yet. So not everyone has access to it yet. But this one is, again, from Excel. It's going to be reports. They stay linked to Intacct, so they can be refreshed, and you can pull that data in. And they do have built-in security permissions linked through those data in Excel. So you're not going to get data that you don't have access to, but you'll be able to go into Excel, have those reports right there, refresh those and pull those in. So instead of having to push a report from Intacct out to Excel, we're kind of staying in that Excel tool that we all so much love and refuse to let go of as accountants. So very excited to see that. Again, that might be something, if you're interested in potentially being on the early adopter list for that, let us know. We can work with your account manager at Sage to try to get you on that list. Right? In reporting, if you do any reports where you are having it automatically generate a separate page in the report, PDF reports, and you're saying generate a separate page for each of your dimensions. So each of your departments, for example, have a different or a page for each location. So it's generating automatically that report, but it's creating a separate page in that report for each of those locations or departments. Historically, if you didn't have any data in that location or department or whatever that dimension is, it would just print a blank page with the header on there. So you can now suppress those, and actually it suppresses them automatically, so you don't have to go make a choice to suppress those. So it's just, helping out with those report packages. So instead of having a 60-page report with 20 pages that are blank, it's going to actually condense that down and just give us those that have data in there. So this one I know has been something that clients have been asking for a while. So we're excited to see this out there where it's going to automatically suppress those and exclude pages that don't have data in them for those dimensions. Okay. And before we get to our live Q&A, I do want to go over to our demo system here and show you a few of these things, in addition to a few of the things that we didn't have slides for and talk about. So just no particular order. We're going to be kind of going through some of these, but you'll see here the company administration that we talked about with all of the buttons here. So my button for collaborate, and when I open that, it's going to open that right here on my screen rather than taking me to another page and a separate space. So all of that right here at my fingertips, and kind of just keeping those buttons right here, my help, my information page. So that's where I can see the release notes, any tips and tricks, events, webinars that Sage is hosting are all out there. So having all of that, again, under my login, I can get to my preferences, see who I'm logged in as, log out, all of that. So having all those buttons right there in one kind of space where it's easy to get to everything for our information. While I'm in here, before I get too much further, just as a reminder, you can get the full release notes from the home page. So right here on your home page, you'll see the full release notes. You can go access those and see those out there, in addition to the handout that that's in with this webinar. So you can get to those full release notes and see the release schedule as well, so you can see what's when the next release is scheduled for. Again, reminder, this one's scheduled for Friday night, August 7th. So you'll be getting all of this soon. Okay. One of the things I wanted to mention, we get asked a lot about, is related to using some different AI agents. So you can go in now and under the company admin and subscriptions, you can get down here to marketplace agents, and you can go in and manage this. I don't have any set up currently with this demo environment, but this is where you can browse out to the marketplace. You can look at approved agents that work with Sage Intacct, so you can extend the Copilot experience in Intacct with certified partners for different agents, and you can actually connect those in to your Intacct environment. So we do get asked a lot about, having different, your different AI agents that you might be using and connecting those in. So this is the space that allows you to make those connections with those certified partners that have agents that Intacct will work with. And I will go ahead and preface, if anybody has the questions of which ones those work with, I can't answer that at this time, but if you do have that question, we'll make a note of it, or email us in support or your account manager, and we will certainly get back to you and work with you individually on that. So I don't have a published list of what all of those are, though. So I suspect that question might come in. So the next thing that I want to talk about is a little bit in, I have fixed assets. So I'm going to go over here to my fixed assets module. And this is the Sage Fixed Asset Management module. So if by chance you are still using the SIG fixed assets, so it's kind of the legacy fixed asset module, and you would be interested in looking at the fixed asset management module, it is still inherent, built on the Intacct platform. It's the newer fixed asset module. Please reach out to us. It does have some enhanced functionality with adding the asset in as a dimension, things like that, that make it a really nice module. So if you're not currently using that and you're using the SIG fixed assets, let us know. We'd be happy to talk to you about what that migration path looks like to move over to the Sage Fixed Asset Management. But that's what this module is. It does support GAAP and tax depreciation, so we can post both of those, and it does support construction and process as well. Recently, in the last release, they made an update to the module where you could say whether you wanted to revert or reverse journal entries, so depreciation entries. Once those are posted, you now have a choice of saying revert, which is delete, or reverse those out. Once you made that choice, however, you couldn't change it. So now you are able to switch back and forth between those. I will tell you that it only applies to assets new that are imported in or set up. So whatever the choice was and the setting was when that asset was entered is what kind of sticks with that asset. So if I go in today and I have this set to reverse, and I go in and I import in a bunch of assets, all I'll have the option of for those depreciation entries is reverse those out, even if I change this to revert. So you do want to kind of be aware of that, and I would caution you not to just switch it back and forth consistently. But if you do have a scenario where something's come up and you do need to make that change, or you realize you don't really like the way it's set, you can actually change that now after, or you will be able to after the release comes out. Okay. Couple other things in here in this module. You will be able to go in. Oh, I didn't mean to go all the way back there. Sorry about that. It's on the wrong button. You can go in, and if you have an asset that has been disposed of, you can reverse that asset disposal out. So if you messed up and you have an asset, if I've got one in here, and you didn't intend to dispose of that, you can go into that asset. And I apologize, my internet is a little slow today here. Be a chance to see the screen while it's spinning, in case you haven't seen the fixed asset management module. If it doesn't do it soon, I'll cancel out of it. But you can go in and take this and this asset, and this one was actually one that was a historical one, so I'm not going to have as much functionality on it. But I'll be able, you can go in and reverse the disposal out. Let me see if I can get into this and then reverse it. And yeah, I've got this one because it was a historic one. I don't have a way to dispose or reverse the disposal out on that, but you will have the option to go into this disposal and reverse that back out. And then one other thing in the asset is from the asset listing now, you can actually get to the import assets. Previously, you had to go to the company module and then the import data and then go to the import service. So again, a couple of clicks of buttons to get there. Here now with having that import button right here on the asset listing, if I'm in here and I need to import in a bunch of historical assets or new assets that aren't related to bills, so they're just some that I've purchased and I don't have a bill, I just want to get them in the system, I can get to that import here as well. Okay. Speaking of Intacct Collaborate, you will see potentially if you are setting this up new under subscriptions, it has kind of moved down the module list here, and it's way down here at the bottom under Sage Collaborate. It used to be kind of higher up, and I can't remember if it was just Collaborate or Intacct Collaborate, but you'll see that that's moved. It has changed a little bit where it's just a little bit more streamlined. Again, those messages right here I can see on the menu, on my home page. So it's just a little bit cleaner look and feel to it. Functionally, it's still the same with those messages on all of the transactions and everything in there, and you can tag them and follow transactions and all of that. It's just a little bit kind of tidier look and feel to it, and having that more available to you right here on your home page from that little button up here, this button, so where you can see those messages. Okay. A few things that are early adopter that I want to just kind of mention, and then I have a few more things to show you in AP, but custom approvals for purchase transactions. So there are going to be some changes rolling out for purchasing approvals. where you can have both header or line level fields as part of your approval processes. So you can have more precise, more detailed options to see coming out. It's not available in my preview, so I can't set it up to show you, but we're looking forward to seeing that again. If you're interested in the early adopter, let us know. If you use Avalara for sales tax, Avalara with use tax is going to be available in purchasing transactions. So previously that was a bit of a manual process. If you had use tax, you had to kind of import data into Avalara to get all of that. So they are going to have it set up for purchasing where you can actually have use tax as well if you're using AvaTax for your tax calculations. With your cash receipts and customer payments, you're going to be able to have some self-service payment options embedded into the invoice. So making that customer payment process easier, where they'll have the option to kind of click to pay, if you will, have that link embedded in those invoices coming from Intacct. In addition, if you're using the Fortis AR customer payment preferred module for your customer payment processing, it's got some additional options with refunds and how those can be processed. So a couple of cool things coming out with that payment processing, just trying to get us access to that money faster from our customers, get those payments faster, so we're not having to spend a lot of time chasing those down. Okay. And then couple of things in AP I want to show you here. And first, under the paid bills, this is where I was mentioning from your customer refunds that I can filter on that. So I can say, give me just my customer refunds and apply that. And so then I can see those to pay those directly. So I can select that, go through my payment process. So that just pulls those out separate from my normal utility bills, AP bills, all of that, and I can get those customer payments processed or customer refunds processed more quickly. So that ability to filter on that document source for customer refunds just makes that a little bit easier for you to kind of separate those out. Okay. In the bills, they have the functionality now if you are using the enhanced list view, which is this list view here. You do have the ability, if you have bills in a draft state and you need to post those, you can post multiple bills, up to 20 bills at a time now. Previously, you had to click on each one and post those. So now I can click on all of those and select post, and it will post all of those. This is also available in accounts receivable under invoices. So you can do multiples to post those transactions if they're, if you've got a process where those are coming in a draft form, and then I want to go post those. So if you're using AP automation and those are all coming in draft and I've reviewed those, and they're ready to post, I can select them to post in batches now. Shouldn't say batches, but in multiples now. And again, up to 20 transactions can be posted at a time. Okay. And then the thing I'm most excited about, the prepaid expense amortization, give you a quick little preview of that. So first, I'm going to show the setup here. So I'm going to go in and you can see I've now got under setup my amortization template. So this is where I'm going to set up what that expense account is, what that process is to post that journal entry. So I'm going to give it a template ID. And we'll just call this my insurance. I still can only amortize straight line, but I'll choose straight line. It does have an option of something else in French, but you'll do straight line. Tell it the number of periods. So is this, a 12-month situation, 6 months? I can select my journal entry, so you still can set up a separate journal code if you want these prepaid expense amortizations to post to a different journal code. That would then allow you, if you think, kind of further down the process, you could have a separate journal code so that those don't need to go through your approval process. If you've got journal approvals turned on, So that allows you to bypass that. If you have a separate journal code, you can keep those out of that approval process. I've just got mine set up going to general journals. The prepaid expense account, this is where the expense account is going to post those amortization schedules to. So I'm just going to select my insurance GL account. And then this, something that's new, with this module, I can set up the schedule period. Is it going to be monthly, quarterly, or annually? So how many, times a year does this need to happen? I'm going to set that to just monthly. And then my posting date, I can set a specific date of the month that you want it to post, or I can say end of period. So then it doesn't matter if it's 30, 31 days in the month, it's going to post on the last day of the month. But if you need it to post on the 1st or the 15th, whatever the case is, you can control that posting date. So that's all of the setup that's required. So you do set those amortization templates up. And then when you go in to a bill and create a bill, and you select your vendor, go in and just do your normal bill stuff with your date, your terms code, all of that information. And I do have multi-currency in here, so let's populate all of that. I'm going to choose my prepaid account, my amount, and we'll just make this easy math and say it's $12,000. Fill in all my dimensions that I have, and then I'll choose my amortization template. So this is where I select that. I have another one I set up for testing that's just rent. I'm going to choose my insurance one. I'm going to tell it a start date. So in this case, I'm going to show you something because I thought this was pretty cool. I do have my prior periods open in here. So that is a caveat to this. I do have prior periods open, but I'm going to go in and say I want to start this January 26th and end it December, since it's 12 months. And I post this bill. And clear my filter here. See that bill, and here's the one I just created. When I go in and look at that, you can see now it's got my amortization schedule out there, so I can view that, and I can see here's the schedule posting. It's telling me those have already posted, so it has already gone back and created and posted already in that short a time all 7 of my prior entries. I can select the rest of these and post them. If I want to do that manually, it'll just post on that schedule based on the end of the month that I selected. So when those dates roll around, they're just going to post automatically. I don't have to do anything with them. I can see if there's any errors. In this case, there are none, but I can see that. So that quickly, I've got that prepaid set up. It's started, and it's already started the amortization on that. There's also available with that module an amortization forecast report. And so this report, you can set the start date that you want to see, the number of periods, and then you want to see if it's monthly, quarterly, annually. You can filter on expense accounts, any of that. I can see things like, just posted, any errors, historical. Summary or detail. I'm going to show you detail because this is a pretty cool report. And so I can see here's all of my prepaids out there. Here's the transaction date, the template that they are, and here's what has posted. So I can see in this case, this posted, in January, because I backdated it, it started, and you can see my start date here. This one's going to start in July, so it started posting in July. So it's got that forecast of what all of my prepaids are and those amortization expenses for those. So super excited, hopefully everybody else is too, about this module, because I know the legacy module that you're using now, like I said, it's got some quirks to it. So we're very excited to see this being rolled out. It does, the release notes do have it listed as early adopter, but we are seeing it already in our preview site. So you may see it on your site on next week when after the release. But if you are interested in this and want more information on this, definitely let us know, and we can help monitor for that and make sure, try to get you on the early adopter list if you are interested in potentially doing that sooner if we don't see it in your release next week. So, and I believe there are a lot of other things available in this release. So there's a lot of things. Didn't have time to cover all of them. And, some of them, again, are early adopter, but you can come out here to the release notes. You can see all of those things. There are also some videos out there from Sage on those. So take a look at those. If there's anything else that we didn't cover today that you're interested in, let us know. We're happy to help kind of look at those, show you those if it's something that we can show you in here in the preview. But watch for those next week after the release. With the release notes, they also will tell you if there are things that require any permission changes. So, for example, under the, let's see, let me see if this has got any permissions. So under those, each of those, it will tell you what permissions are required. So if there are things that do roll out, you may have to go in and update your roles or your users to give them access to some of this new functionality. So if you don't immediately see things in your system, check to see if there are permissions required. That's typically the first thing that needs to happen on those. And then some of them may require some configuration or setup or turning something on. That's usually all noted here in the release notes as well, so that you have all of that and know how to turn things on. But please don't hesitate to reach out to our support team if you do need help with any of that or getting anything turned on or permissioned for you to be able to access any of this. So with that, Tamara, are there any questions?
No questions yet, but right now, everyone, is the perfect time to ask questions. And we'll give it a minute or so to see if anyone has any questions. Think that we'll close off the Q&A, but again, just like how Teresa said, please feel free to reach out if there's anything that you saw that you're interested in or have any questions about. The best email to reach is sageintactsupport@dsdinc.com. Our Sage Intacct team is here for you. And again, we have a SLA plan if you're interested and consulting as well. So with that, we will close it off. And thank you again to Teresa and all of you for joining us. We appreciate your time and look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.